Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with Life on Mars. Last time on Life on Mars, we had Live and Let Die, the unofficial name for Episode 2. Let me see if I can remember this. It's been a little bit. My reaction schedule is a bit screwy right now, so I'm going to try to remember everything. Basically, it was the case of Kim Trent, a jewelry store robber who Gene wanted to bring in without true evidence. He just wanted to pin evidence on him. But Sam, being the good man he is, decided that was not a good idea. However, in the process, one of the station employees, I guess, June, ended up getting fatally shot. And while she survived, it is going to be a very long recovery. And Sam was feeling guilty about it. However, they did work together to catch Kim Trent the right way, and he is going away. So, yeah, it was a very interesting episode all around. This time around, I have no idea. I should actually check, by the way. I'm assuming that the last episode was good on copyright. Yep. Looks like it's all good, so I'm going to say that we are just fine on copyright, and we're not going to need a highlight. That's just what I'm thinking, so. But yeah. I guess that's it. So let's go ahead and get into this episode of Life on Mars and see what we're going to call this episode. Here we go.
Are you listening, Sam? I know you can hear me. We've been monitoring you closely.
Phyllis, is that you?
No, it's Jane Fonda on the hunt for men. I've got reported stabbing.
Stabbing where?
Nope. Oh, that woke him up.
On my street, so just take a left and then...
Nah, he's got it. We're going backwards. He's still got the sandwich in his mouth. Oh no, the boxes! Ballroom Blitz, that's the name of this episode.
I live here. I will live here.
Nah.
It's all right, you know. It's like I've landed on a different planet. Now maybe if I can work out the reason, I can get home.
I feel like they have to say that line, I feel like I'm on another planet, so that the title Life on Mars makes more sense. Because I get it, the song, that's great, but still. It's also interesting, the whole keep fighting. I wonder if Sam accepting the world more and more means he's slipping more and more.
We're planning to pull out the old looms, upgrading. The new ones do the work of 3 men. That means those that want to stay
Have to prove themselves.
The immigrants, well, they're supposed to be payday today. They'll go mad. Place is a powder keg as it is.
You leave it with me. Take no time at all, sir.
Alright then. Oof. There's a lot of friggin' blood.
Mary, Mary. Golden rule in all these cases is the first one to speak did it.
It was robbery, you know. There's plenty of lowlife out there in New Saunders that's told. They did him for the cash.
Well, guess it's him.
Mr.
Bannister. Ted Bannister.
I mean, it's pretty
Right,
sus.
let's bring them in and put them in the
We'll give him that.
Gents. Right. How many murderers we banged up in the last 2 years?
Got to be a dozen?
How many times did I know the killer on first sight?
All of them.
Thank you.
Duh.
Except that old day with a squint.
Sonny, we have to build up. Look, I'm going to say this, and I know you're going to throw things at me, but we need
Duh.
to build up a forensic profile. It's,
No way
Duh.
this won't get
Yep,
solved
they're throwing
now.
things.
if you think I'm going to reduce a murder inquiry to the level of a playground bet,
Cowardly,
then
Mustard.
this is
Come
No
on.
fight.
I want us prepped. Mass interview. It could be a gang. It could be a gang of trained eagles. It could be ninjas for all we know.
No way, boss. It's not ninja style.
Thank you, Chris.
Blokes at the mill.
I love
KG rock.
him getting drawn into the competition.
You're dead, pal. My exact words. How many times have you heard people say that?
It's been said by men who've toddled off and done just that. Killed someone.
Nah.
Bloody hell. Several wounds, one to the left shoulder, one
Yeah.
to the chest, and 2 to the right arm.
That is very
Estimated
specific.
time of death from blood temperature. Can we put together a forensic profile before you start expanding on this gripping novel any further, Guff? We're going to carry out a fingertip search.
Turn the
for
place
the
over,
weapon.
Ray. Dig holes. I want to see a lot of holes. Talk to the sheep boys. Anyone lost a dagger? Find me that blade, Ray.
Consider it done.
No.
We'll go through the night shift statements.
Yeah, but they get to look for a big knife.
Anyone can run around like an headless chicken.
No.
Nothing beats the satisfaction of a thorough investigative process.
I'm gonna start saying that. Anyone can run around like a headless chicken, man.
All right, come on. Snap out of it. Motivational speaking now, okay? We will get results. Say it.
We'll get results.
We're winners.
Winners.
Now roar like lions.
Ah.
That was a joke, that. You'd have to do that.
Well, that's the best we could do.
Oh, it's a doddle then. We're looking for someone with hamster's cheeks, a nose like Audrey Hepburn, and 2 foot of forehead.
No.
These are the body parts they give us.
Is there anybody in this station that can draw?
What about PC Mallows?
Why do you deliberately get his goat?
Duh.
I need to fight, Chris.
Fight with Gene, perhaps helps his mind.
It stops moisture drying on the floor. This blood's still fresh.
Hey! How do we miss this?
It's because you let forensics go too soon.
Why are we looking at drawings of Ted Bannister?
ID from the witness.
You see? Radar's rarely wrong. The one dusted by pub opening.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that as long as it's the real guy, you know? But you can't just go, you know?
Say sorry to the man, Derek.
Sorry. Good. Now say sorry, my dad, scum.
Oh, come on, Gov.
Sorry, my dad, scum. Thanks for getting him off the street.
Ah.
Thanks for getting him off the street.
As soon as he gets one, he goes.
It's not over yet.
Mad gallop for the finish, is it? You want to watch yourself, Sammy boy. I play rough.
Nah.
But we're in the middle of something.
I'm going to say 2 words to you, and they will change your life and put you on a fast track to Inspector. Multitasking.
Duh.
What are you doing? Get the gov.
Man, Chris is really useful, isn't he?
Interview conducted.
Is that legal?
Trust me, it's better than writing it down.
Nah.
DCI Hunt has just entered the room.
DC Skelton concurs.
And there goes that.
I did it. What? I did it. I killed him. Like he said, I was drunk.
He didn't do it.
Okay, so you got rid of the knife, but not the bloodied shirt.
That's right.
Now, before you go any further, I want you to seriously think about what you're saying.
I bet he's trying to take the fall for his
I want
son.
you to think about your family.
What the hell are you playing at, Litton? Dodds is ours.
Stolen shotguns falls under crime squad jurisprudence.
It's a big word. Can you spell it?
Oh shit, is he gonna spell it?
Why didn't you call me?
Oh, dang it.
D.I. Tyler's handling this one personally.
Oh, gave it over to Chris.
You know the guns are fake, don't you? Yeah, of course you do.
Sorry, what fake?
No. What are you talking about?
I agree that departmental protocol suggests we hand the case over to RCS, inasmuch as the evidence thus far obtained, however diluted from its original perceived significance, would indeed benefit from investment by a police body more experienced and equipped to process it through to court.
His
Yeah, I was
mind
gonna say
melted.
that.
No. Duh.
Come on!
Duh. Just call him.
Please!
Oh, crap.
When I mentioned family, I saw the look of fear in his eyes, and it was real fear. But not for himself.
I think he's trying to cover up for his son.
What if Tina was scared because she's covering up for somebody?
Because she's covering up
Who if
for
they
the
both got it
murderer.
coming? In the middle of something here, Guff.
Blood match from Ted's shirt. It's Saunders. Every little drop.
You're joking.
Maybe it is him.
The back, you've always been thin like Twiggy. Well, not exactly as thin as Twiggy.
Unless it's her, but that'd be weird.
Can touch the genie.
The Gene Genie.
No, that's when I'm not in trouble.
No, sweetheart, you're not in trouble.
What if she killed him?
It's over, Nelson.
I have the high ground. Wait, they're gone. The little girl and the clown, they're not there. Ah! Dang it!
What do you want?
I told you. I'm your only friend.
Really? Because I'm about to kick your face in.
No more nastiness. Just sleep. Just sleep.
No. No.
Sleep.
Oh. Okay, they're back on the TV. Jeez. It's freaking terrifying.
Now, this order's a red herring.
Hang on, I've got a feeling.
Oh, so it's all right for you to have feelings, is it, Gladys?
What's wrong with this machine?
I don't know.
Mr. Coins, there's no dirt or oil on this belt.
It's a brand new belt. It's not dirty because it hasn't been used as yet.
But it was being used by Saunders the night he died. So that means that somebody has replaced the belt after his death. What happens when they snap? Jimmy Saunders wasn't murdered. This belt drives the drums behind me.
It was an
2-inch
accident.
wide leather. Now he saw it coming. Nothing he could do about it. The wounds are here. Here.
That's why the wounds are
Here.
so erratic and huge.
So you went to the factory to have it out with him, to finish what you'd started.
He was dead.
He was already dead.
Panicked. If it had got out, it'd have been a death knell for the factory.
Yeah.
Dodgy floor George can close the mill. What's a fatal accident going to do to us?
Huh.
Took you a long time to clean up though, didn't it?
I was told nothing. Go through the back. Pick up the bag. The floor's been thin.
Outside toilet.
I picked up the guns, but Derek wasn't going to use them.
Huh.
Not even with no one out of the mill.
The two cases connect.
Ted said, you've got to fight. The factory's going to open tomorrow, innit?
I'm doing the job tonight.
Oh, shit.
Right, dirty Harry.
Oh, they all get guns now.
Look, I haven't done target range for a while.
So,
Meh.
blokes are a lot easier to hit than paper targets.
You want it or not?
Probably end up turning it on us.
You know, I don't trust Chris with a gun. Can we just say that?
You should see my PlayStation scores.
Duh. Dude, the most they got is a Magnavox Odyssey.
Drop your weapons, you are surrounded by armed bastards!
Ah! Oh man, it's an actual shootout now. So what was the... But what is the point of doing it? Like... I don't know. They'll explain it, I'm sure.
It's a war.
It's a textile mill.
Put it down.
Ah!
Last warning.
Ah! He will shoot.
Can't hit me before I hit him.
For God's sake, don't throw him down a wager.
Duh. Yeah.
You feel like the walls are closing in on you and you're trapped and you're terrified of what's waiting for you out there.
You see, Derek, you think you got problems? I have to work with it. Shut up.
Duh.
I'm gonna pick up my gun and I want you to put yours down.
Sam, no. All right, Derek?
Oh! Oh!
I'll listen to your little tape machine now and again. Okay? As long as you, just sometimes, listen to this.
Duh.
Okay?
Was it right what you said? It is a war. At least I know what I'm fighting for.
Well,
You want a drink, Litton? Afraid we haven't got any baby
look at this
shower.
guy in his jacket and bow tie.
Shooters with a real deal.
Bloody hell, you really are a detective.
Why are they all dressed weirdly?
1-0. 1-0. 1-0. 1-0. 1-0. 1-0.
Oh! Oh! Alright, apparently it's just a fight now. Ooh!
Here we go.
Come on, then.
Up. Alrighty. Alrighty. Okay. Now I'll just go ahead and say I'm not quite sure what the... Jesus, my mind is starting to decay slowly as I keep doing these. I'm not quite sure what the goal was with Derek at the factory. I'm not quite sure I understand what was going on there. Oh, or was it... Were they trying to get the wages specifically? Because that had... Because... I guess it could have been that the wages... They needed to go get the wages. Suppose it's that. Maybe you guys can clear that up, but I think I've missed that, so... Unfortunate, but it kind of happens. It happens every so often. You'll miss something, so... The guy that played Derek looked kind of familiar. Nope. Alright. That's the problem. You get a lot of... Sometimes you just, I get a British actor on, this or Doctor Who or something. I try to look him up. Nope. Nothing. So... kind of happened on Merlin, too. So, it's these British shows. It's because I don't watch enough British shows to really be familiar with all these actors, Ugh. Like, from this show, even, just, like, the only person I recognize is John Sim, but that's only because I've watched Doctor Who, Okay. So, that is episode 3, Ballroom Blitz, as I'm going to call it, because that was... Now, they didn't bookend it. They didn't bookend the story with Ballroom Blitz, but that was what was playing at the beginning. Maybe I could see what they were specifically playing here at the end. Unless it's just a different part of Ballroom Blitz and I'm a dumbass. Which is entirely possible. Okay, I don't know. Well, I guess it's whatever starts playing at the fight, so... After they all start chanting 1-0. I wonder if any X-rays... No, it's just casting trivia. Alright, screw it, whatever. Ballroom Blitz, we're calling it that. Oh, okay. Oh, boy, oh, boy. Okay. Sorry, I'm a little tired, too. But, good episode, good episode. Definitely another episode. I'm wondering if this is just going to be the thing with all these episodes, is just... Here's a different way that Sam and Jean will conflict, basically. Probably something like that. So, yeah. The first thing I wrote down is keep fighting. So, yeah, that's pretty interesting. We've had this... I mean, through these 3 episodes, it's interesting to try to speculate on what's happening with Sam and 2006, And it definitely seems to be that Sam is in some strange coma, and everything that's happening in 1973 is playing out just in his mind. So that's an interesting thing. So I would imagine that part of it, keep fighting. If he goes and starts to accept more of this, then that would... His body in 2006 would start to slip away. Which we definitely saw with the little girl. I don't like that the little girl keeps coming back. Like, I don't want that, but whatever. But yeah, so that's pretty interesting. And so he's taking it, keep fighting. It seems to be, in this, it's keep fighting Jean. The more he, and not even just that, he's fighting Jean, but it's his resistance, the fact that, basically, he's keeping his mind going, He's keeping everything working because he has this drive, He has the drive to prove these cases the right way. He's holding on to who he is, And in doing so, it's coming into conflict with Jean, So that's pretty interesting. So I like that. And then, so the big thing of this episode is the mill, which is interesting. Which I also like how they say it's like, this is where Sam's flat would be. So that was interesting. So the whole thing was that the mills were going to be upgraded. Now, what was it? Okay. I know this isn't necessarily important to understand, but what is it specific? So it was like, maybe I could just go back and listen to that part again. So it sounded like, these will boost up, it'll take, whereas it used to take 3 men to do a job, now it'll only take 1 man. But, so they have to, I think they said, they have to prove themselves now.
How do you mean, Mr. Coates? Well, we're planning to pull out the old looms, upgrading. The new ones do the work of 3 men. That means those that want to stay
Have to prove themselves.
Yeah. Well, they're a little brown army, happy to work triples. But our lads, different story.
Huh.
2 gobbies since the unions merged, see. Saunders thought they were holding everyone back.
So by working triple shifts, he was defying the union.
You could see the way the future lay.
Well, someone killed him for that.
Okay. So, basically, in order to prove yourself, one way of proving yourself, basically, is working a triple shift. And as the boss said, the immigrant workers are more than happy to do that. Saunders seems to be the only one who was different. Saunders was the only one who was different. He was willing to work the triple shifts where everyone else wasn't. And so that's why everyone hated him. Is that it specifically? Huh. Okay. And so, but I mean, obviously he wasn't murdered, as we find out. It wasn't that he was murdered because of this, but they tried to frame it that way. That's the interesting thing, that they did try to frame it that way, because one of those machines breaking would be the end of the mill. So it's very interesting, that it's basically this entire community depends on this mill, which, I mean, it's one of those things, like, at first you would almost think, like, well, that can't be right, just this community that, if this mill goes down, this community goes down. But that is honestly the case, It's the case, obviously, in the UK, as we see here, but also there's a lot of places in the United States where that happens too. So that is very interesting. It is a very real sort of situation, that this entire community is dependent on this one mill, So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, the whole thing is that they tried... Okay, so the whole thing is that they tried to pin it on Ted. And they only did that because if the machine breaks, if word got out that the machine broke, it could shut down the entire mill completely. So that's it. So yes, there was the threat of, we have to prove ourselves to stay on board with this mill, but this accident creates a new problem. So that's interesting. So, but Ted is okay with going down for murder because it means that the factory would stay open. The factory gets open, and then, the family, Derek can keep working, which is interesting. I mean, it's a very interesting idea, and when they say, like, oh, this is a war, and you honestly sit there and think, it's a war? This is about a textile mill, But honestly, it is, because they are fighting to keep their jobs. Not even just like, well... And, they don't really go into, like, oh, the immigrants are stealing our jobs or anything, but it's more of, just proving yourselves. And it's more of the, because of the upgraded mills that, pretty much everyone has to prove themselves, So, so that's really interesting. But yeah, just the fact that Ted is willing to go down for murder because it would mean that this factory stays open. The community is better. His family is better off because of it. That is pretty crazy, So he actually frames himself for it. And then I guess because of the whole thing with... I'm assuming, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong about this, but the whole thing with them getting the guns and then going into the factory was because they were trying to get the wages, because it was being kept from everyone because the factory was shut down. So, okay, I think that's it. Again, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong about that. So yeah, let's see. And then on top of that, we do have our this episode's conflict between Sam and Jean. Interesting. Again, it is another sort of conflict of methods. Where Jean is it's interesting how he says well, the first person to talk did it, and technically, in a sense, he was not wrong, because the first person that talked was the person who was trying to, go down for this, So in a sense, that's not entirely inaccurate. And they say, that, like, the last, dozen cases or so that they've done, Gene has always said, it's the first person that talks, and he's always been right about that, almost always right about that. Well, that does mean that someone has gone down for it. That does mean that someone, that person is true. And the thing is here, it's just because it's a more complicated case than that ends up being not a murder case, So that's pretty interesting. And yeah, so we have the bet between Sam and Jean to see which one is right. Because, yeah, I mean, as soon as he starts saying, pretty much as soon as you get his confession, you pretty much immediately know, like, okay, he's covering up. Presumably, you're like, oh, well, he's covering up for Derek. But it's not even just that. He's covering up because it was an accident. And that could honestly be worse for the factory than a murder, So let's see. So we had the whole thing. Again, it's interesting to see, like, Sam trying to use more modern methods in 1973. We had the drawing, so they had to get a decent artist for the sketch, and then the whole thing with forensics, which was interesting. And then yeah, I like the use of the tape recorder because it was the tape recorder that allowed them to figure out the whole thing with the guns and everything. So that was interesting. So yeah, I did like that. That was really good. There is still that underlying conflict with Ray as well. Because Ray, I mean, again, it's one of those things where I feel like Ray almost isn't a character, He's just kind of there, and they reference him every so often. But there's almost, I feel like, like, I don't know, like, I feel like there needs to be more interaction between him and Sam, because they do sort of have this other sort of rivalry, you know? Like, with Gene, it is definitely a rivalry, you know? And, you know, they get into their pissing contests all the time. But with Ray seems to almost deliberately do things because he hates Sam, you know? And it's one of those things where I feel like we almost don't get anything of Ray to where I would warrant caring about it, you know? Maybe that's just me, but he doesn't get enough screen time compared to Gene and even Chris. I feel like Chris gets more screen time, you know? So yeah, I don't know. Let's see. I mean, a lot of these notes sort of tie into each other, and then they're sort of explained towards the end. But yeah, I mean, pretty much from the confession, you can immediately get like, okay, he's covering up for someone else. But it's interesting, again, just the interesting twist that he would rather go down for murder because that would be better for the factory. It's a very interesting twist, you know? So yeah. So that's pretty interesting. And yeah, the whole thing with the other case was also interesting. You know, I did like that moment of Sam, you know, going against Litton, and, you know, saying it's like, oh, well, they were fake, they were wooden, you know, so, you know, he really had to improvise there in order to, you know, not look like a fool, in front of I guess the arch rivals of this department or whatever. I'm not really sure how that works, but whatever. Yeah, I'm not really sure the ins and outs of the two different departments, but obviously there is a rivalry there, which is interesting. But yeah, but then that comes around with that case actually being a part of this case, with Tina going and getting the weapons, which was interesting. So yeah, let's see. I mean, I guess, see, the interesting thing is, you know, with Gene, his methods aren't necessarily bad in this episode. It's just that they're rushed, basically, you know? And Sam is trying to take his time and really prove it. But it's interesting, Sam almost has the same side that he did last episode. You know, oh, we need to take our time, we need to prove this, we need to get evidence, and we need to then, you know, catch the person. Whereas Gene is more instantaneous. No, it was him. But I don't know. It's just sort of interesting, you know, it's just because I'm curious how often we're going to be doing these, you know, methodology clashes, basically. So yeah, I'm not sure like how many times we can really, you know, keep doing that. But it is very interesting, and it's just also interesting that Sam is still basically saying the same argument that he had last episode, you know? So yeah. Other than that, I mean, I feel like I'm skipping over a lot of stuff, but honestly, no. A lot of these notes I took for this one, they are pretty much like, you know, they tie into everything we've talked about already. So, but yeah, just the interesting twist of it was the belt snapping, and then the cover-up in order to keep the factory open, you know? So that was interesting. And then, yeah, let's see. We did have a bit of compromise with Gene, because Gene is slowly acknowledging Sam's methods, you know? It's because that's the thing. Sam has not necessarily lost yet. Yes, he's had some, you know, there have been some lower points on some of these cases, but overall, Sam does get the job done. It's just that Gene doesn't really like those methods, basically. So I'm just... so it's interesting, you know, he says, like, all right, I'll listen to your forensics and your little tape recorders every so often if you sometimes will, you know, just trust even a little bit in, you know, my hunches, basically, you know? Because technically he wasn't wrong, you know? He's wrong and he wasn't wrong. He was wrong in that, yes, Ted wasn't the murderer, but Ted did do something. He did cover things up, you know? So yeah, like, there was something suspicious about Ted, basically. then, yeah, the last thing I wrote down was Lytton. So they specifically didn't call in that. So I guess they are more of the special cops, I guess, the cops that are allowed to use guns. And they specifically didn't call them in, and instead went with guns to take on the four at the factory, which was interesting. And then there was just a little bit of a brawl at the end there, which was interesting. So yeah. But that's basically it. Another good episode, and I'm really looking forward to see what case we're going to be getting next time. This is honestly a very, very interesting show. I'm really enjoying it. And figuring out all the mysteries and stuff. And the different, definitely the clashes of ideologies between Sam and Jean. It'd be interesting, though, if maybe we got an episode where they both just sort of agreed. But I don't know. I don't think you can base the whole episode, they just keep agreeing with each other. Like, there's got to be some sort of twist to it, But yeah, I'm very curious to see where we are going next time. So with all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of my Life on Mars reactions, there is a playlist on screen, as well as another video you can go click on if you want to see more videos from me. There's a subscribe button and a Patreon button, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys next time.